is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 55 of The Grief of Politics. I'm joined by Avin Carroll. Avin, how you doing?
Am doing all right. How are you today, sir?
Good. I am reminded for all the YouTube content that I watch that I should say, we talk about politics every month, you and I. We've been doing this for several years. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and share it with your family. If there's an episode you really like, well, friends and
Our
family, I guess,
friends.
too. Yeah. Whoever. If there's an episode you like, share it with them.
Maybe enemies. Maybe Joe or I make a really good point, and you can be like,
Yeah.
listen right here,
Yeah.
where they just crush your argument,
Right.
because that's what we're after.
Yeah,
We're
we're
after
not really.
crushing each
Yeah,
other's viewpoints.
they don't really crush. I mean, I'm not going to say I've
No?
done the. I mean,
We go?
we're working on the back end to improve our thumbnails so we can, maybe get a little bit farther than we need to get on the view count. But we've talked about this.
Scared me for a second when you paused at view. I was like, I don't want to be on the view, Joe.
No, I don't either. It just anyway. This episode, I think we're just going to call it a lightning round because we didn't know what to call it. It just seems like all the time there's so much news, and I have.
Welcome back to another Trump term.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's just so much news. It is just like rife with news. I can't think of it's a plethora, a cornucopia
Cornucopia.
of things we could talk about.
Yeah, my mother used to say plethora a lot. She taught me that word. She goes, I love that word. And now I kind of like plethora. It's a good word. There's so much. So there is this.
It's diverse, it's complex,
Yep, it's good.
interesting.
Not a lot of
and
letters
it is
either in plethora.
pervasive.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Also,
Oh
there.
no, I meant the news.
Yeah, well, that too. But there's also a secret segment, which Avin, when I was telling him about the episode, he said, well, I probably know your secret segment. Because I said, I read some surprising news yesterday. And he said, we'll see. So I actually pulled up 3 stories in the secret news segment. And we'll see if.
3 in the secret segment, only
They're-
2 out of it. Okay.
Right, well, they're all related. So we have 2 that we're going to talk about and 3 that are related. That I don't know which ones of the 3. If you know all 3, that's great. This isn't a quiz or anything. I just read it and it kind of surprised me. So where would you like to start in our thing? We obviously, like the rest of the political discourse, we have to talk about Jeffrey Epstein for several reasons. Just because,
What?
my
There's
word,
news about Epstein?
Ep who? Yeah, apparently,
Is that you, Epu?
yeah, who?
Sorry. That's bad.
So what?
I'm sorry.
So
I
what?
tell
I
everyone.
so what I did is wanted to take another angle of the Epstein thing. Now this is obviously being reported, but what do you? Before we get into the news, I mean, obviously you're probably like me, where you're listening to people talk about Epstein. What do you think overall about the situation with Trump's situation with Epstein? Like the news you've been reading, and that could be a whole.
I mean, I'll bring up a couple different things on it. One, suddenly, now that Trump's vulnerable for it, there's all kinds of extra coverage going on about deeper layers of Trump and Epstein's relationship than we were, or at least I was aware of.
Right.
Like, I already knew there was connection. I already know that the flight logs show that Trump has been on Epstein's plane and
Right.
had flown with him. I already knew that they had met in Palm Beach at some point. I just didn't know how much. I didn't know about the interview he did where he talked about, like, oh yeah, Epstein and I are a lot alike, like, I think he likes beautiful women more than I like beautiful women, and on the younger end
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like,
Like
we all knew that Trump's always been lecherous, but it's just kind of reinforcing that. So it's kind of fun for me. I also really appreciate the MAGA meltdown and like MAGA influencers and podcasters trying to like backtrack or like move away or deflect and just not being able to because their own audiences that they have fed
yeah.
are
Revolting.
upset and angry. Like, wait! You said you were going to get rid of the deep state. We were going to
Right.
get rid of the pedophiles, and now what's going on? It's fun to watch Trump kind of melt down over it.
Yeah. It's
And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in any way, shape, or form that they did this. I am not surprised that the greater swath of the Trump administration cannot control it. I'm not surprised that Trump himself cannot control it. So it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all that. The one question I would ask is, do you think it will be a lasting thing? You know, there's some people that think it will burn out. There's some people that think it will last. You know, the callers now, famously, well, not famously, but there is a clip from the Glenn Beck show that he records his radio show of a caller calling in being very upset and just on the verge. It sounds like very upset about what's going on. And there is this thing of like, well, it'll burn out in a couple weeks. But then some people are like, we will not forget this. We will not forget that.
I think it'll diminish in the news cycle. Right now, it's still really big news, and it stays big news because Trump can't like let it drop. He's
Yeah.
not capable of it. He has to respond when he's being painted in a bad light.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think this will have more legs than they usually do. If it will actually have deep, meaningful ramifications, that's hard to see or know, but we will see. And was it the House committee that voted to release it, and every single Republican voted against releasing the
Yeah.
information
Yeah. Hey,
or like compelling the release of the information?
and
Like,
yeah, Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, stepped up and said we need to release this stuff. So you can complain. Like, I just want to tell anybody if you're kind of on the right side of the aisle and you're listening to this. I know I don't speak for all people on the left, but from what I've read, generally on the left, people are like, "Oh yeah, we know Bill Clinton's in those. Release it." Like if you have something, like I'm not saying we don't mind going after our own, but like crime is crime, and if somebody committed a crime, then go after. Oh, you
in
got
the long stream of the game on this one, I would disagree with you. I think they've resisted its release for a while too because they worried that um, Republicans would use it as a smear campaign and hurt them. I think at this point in time, it's pivoted. And now you can attack Democrats for being opportunistic, but just shut up because Republicans are equally opportunistic, and don't be so arrogant to think your side isn't better.
right,
They're both corrupt and corruptible.
right,
I think at this point, the Democratic Party and those representatives, congressmen, senators, they're recognizing that right now Republicans are going to take way more harm from this than Democrats will.
right.
Trump will try to spin it and point fingers, and his zealots will eat it up. They will ignore his failings in favor of attacking his enemies. But
Well, what I think is interesting is like you mentioned earlier, his like kind of conservative wing of like the independent journalists like Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk. They have been trying to pivot away, but either their comments or the people are like, "What are you doing?" So like, I don't think it's going to be as easy for them to be like, "Hey man, this autopin thing is crazy." And you're like, "Okay, good one, but what about the Epstein? Like, nice
right,
try.
right.
You
Yep.
tried to
And they're trying. I mean, they're really, really trying.
yeah,
Conservative media, by and large, is trying. But there are wings of conservative media that
mm-hmm.
are, hey, you got to release it. You got to release it. Even Glenn Beck was like, I think the right thing to do in this context is, redact the names of the victims and release it. Like you've got to be transparent here, and you've got to take the licks where they're coming, but you have to be transparent. The problem is he's in it. At what level, we don't know.
Yeah. So
But like Wall Street Journal's article on him writing the letter for the birthday party,
which
yeah, it's like
was creepy. Just the fake poem that he wrote. And also, they described a doodle that he made in that. You can read the
yep,
description of the doodle. But his son, Don Jr., came out and said, in the 40 some odd years, I've never seen my father draw anything, which is ridiculous. But then, whoever, I think it was a New York Magazine, somebody fact checked him and said, here's four that he auctioned off. And he did the New York skyline, and I think auctioned them off for whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things that's so ridiculous. I've never put pencil to paper, and then the paper, whatever, whoever was like, yeah, he has. That's
yeah.
that's one of the.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that he's stammering and he's not on the strong foot like he usually is. He isn't able to pivot away from it the way he usually is, because many, many people that have supported him and believed in him because he's going to get rid of these pedophiles and corrupt politicians and people that are in the deep state trying to run America are like, no, you promised us answers on this.
Yeah.
You need to give us answers, right? You released the JFK files as much as you could, which ended up kind of being a dud. There
I
wasn't a whole
did.
lot of
I did
information that
hear
came out
there
of that.
was on the JFK Junior or JFK files. I did hear there was actually some things like when you read deeper into it that the CIA had more connections with Lee Harvey Oswald. Like that there was
More,
yeah
yeah.
because they were like oh
There definitely
he
was, and they had lied that they didn't have
yeah
people in his circle. Um,
yeah I mean it's
but there's no giant smoking gun that they incited him to go do this or
no,
anything.
yeah I think it's just something where they I don't so here's the deal. I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat for a second. The whole did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself thing. I don't know. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he was murdered. If he was murdered, this is how I picture it in my mind. Do you remember this is a great movie, Godfather Part 2? And towards the end of that movie, there's like a Senate hearing, and one of the guys is like basically talking about the mob, which he shouldn't talk about the mob. And what Corleone does is he brings that guy's relative from the old country to just sit next to Corleone and they stare the guy down. So the next day he comes in to testify, he sees a family member from the old country, and he forgets everything. He's like, oh, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember doing this. And there's a scene towards the end where this guy is in jail who's testifying that's squealing on the mob. And he talks to, Corleone, one of Corleone's men. And he says that they're talking about stuff. And the guy says, man, in Rome, when they had to kill themselves, they would just do X, Y, and Z. And it was pretty terrible, but it was an easy way to go. And the guy squealing mob goes, yeah, that's a good point. And then he goes in and does that. So I think if I was to be less conspiracy, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I don't think people would have been smart. I think it was like, hey, you're looking at a hard life in here, even though it's kind of your own cell. What are you going to do? And I think maybe that's what
At that point in time, it was. I mean, it would have changed eventually. He would have been moved.
yeah, but I mean,
Um,
my thing is like I think it's like, hey, you know what you got to do type thing. And he's like, all right, I guess I gotta. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what happened. But what I wanted to take the article I picked is from Vanity it's a couple 2 days ago.
is
Is from Vanity Fair, and it's about Ghislaine Maxwell, who was his co-conspirator, also his girlfriend, I believe, for a few years, trafficked with like literally would find girls, whatever for him. What's interesting is they are now hanging on every word that the Justice Department is saying because now Trump is like, well, this is a hoax, and her lawyers are like, really? So if it's a hoax, why is she in jail? And the second thing they brought up in this was her lawyers claim in their appeal that a plea deal Epstein made with federal authorities in 2007 when he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for soliciting a child for prostitution should have shielded her from prosecution as a co-conspirator. After DOJ attorneys urged the Supreme Court on Monday to reject the appeal, Maxwell's lawyers, David Oscar Marcus, responded by situating the case in the currents that have roiled the president of late. So the idea is, hey, all of the co-conspirators should have been shielded during this time. I was arrested for being a co-conspirator. Why am I in jail? And someone brings up a really good point. They says, this is basically a reset button for her to kind of set the record straight. And from what I've heard, I don't know if it's in this article or more than I've read, she's basically open to talking to whoever wants to listen. She wants to go in front of like a Senate inquiry committee. She wants to go to the Supreme Court. If she's got to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, she's willing to talk because she's like, I want to get out of jail. Because I think she's in Tallahassee right now. I think it's like 20 years she's serving. So
years was the original sentence.
Yeah, 20-year prison sentence for facilitating, the whatever. So I think it's pretty nuts that this has happened to Trump before. Remember E. Jean Carroll, who he defamed and then got out of court. It was a massive settlement in the millions. I think the first one was
5 million or 10 million.
Yeah.
Like
And then he shot his mouth off and said, I've never heard of her, or, why would I do this to her? And they're like, and she's ugly, whatever. He
defamed her again.
Defamed her again. She's like, hey, put a revolving door right in this courthouse because we're just going to go right back in. And then she won again.
The second settlement was like in the tens of millions at that point.
Right. And I think is that where it ended?
Second, I don't want to say settlement, judgment was in the tens of millions. Right. No, there was a recent article, like in the last couple of weeks, Maybe she won the appeal and they had appealed it or something along those lines. But yeah,
Is there?
she's set for life.
Oh yeah, like millions of. There's been some interviews with her. I should probably listen to
As long
them.
as she doesn't get Clinton.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, just totally disgraced. I think Monica Lewinsky actually responded to some of the stuff. Monica Lewinsky's actually been responding to some of the stuff online about, yeah, it's pretty. There's a documentary about her like now, like on Netflix, of like, here's what happened in my life. And I'm like, ooh, it sounds kind of rough. Didn't sound great for anybody. I'll say this. This I think is an interesting angle. The idea that they, as I've said before, Trump's been in this situation. You could use his words against him of like, oh, he says it's a hoax, so like nothing happened, nothing to see here. We should be able to go. You know, our client should be able to go home. And I think it's interesting that they just said, well, this is the direction we're going in. It's like, I don't think that's a smart direction.
Then the question is, does she get out and talk,
Yeah.
or does she also have an unfortunate accident?
It could be too, like anything, she could see this kind of coming down the road and she could probably get some kind of private security, I'd imagine. I know what you're saying, though. She might be able to disappear. But I don't know. I think.
No, no, I don't mean that. I mean, like, is she gonna suicide?
Oh, yeah. Oh, another.
Right? Like,
But then that's worse, I would think, for the situation because people are like, look, man. Because I think I heard Will Summers, who's on the Bulwark, he's like I think it's called, I think his newsletter's called False Flag, and he's like the right wing guy who like reads all the right wing stuff and listens to all the shows. And he's like, I think what you're going to see in the next week or so is now Giselle Maxwell is now going to be a hero because they're like, you need to let her out so she can speak her piece and put all this to rest, which is interesting. I don't know if Trump wants to do that because I think his own people, he's like, hey, could we pardon her? And they're like, you don't want to do that. I think his own Justice Department was like, don't do that. Don't do that's a bad idea.
that's also going to look bad, though, right? For the people that want justice for all the pedophilia that went on, like, oh, we're gonna like release the pedophile? What?
Yeah.
Because she was also allegedly very involved in the sexual activities. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't just him.
No, that's why she got arrested. It was like, no, you were like bringing women to him, or
No. I don't mean just bringing women to him. Like also engaging.
Oh, right.
In the activities with him.
Right.
Like supposedly.
Yeah. Allegedly, we don't want to get in trouble. Allegedly, she was.
Right. So
I don't know. Can you say allegedly because she is convicted? I don't know if we can. I guess if she's appealing right now, we should probably say allegedly because I think she's appealing everything. So.
Yeah, but that's not even my point, though, right? Like from what I understand, and I might be remembering wrong. So anyone that like wants to correct us in the comments, please feel free. But it's my understanding that she not only solicited the young women, but she also participated.
Yeah. I mean that's not. That wouldn't be strange for me. I don't know. I'm interested to see where this goes. Just a shout out. This was written by Vanity Fair by Dan Adler, and it came out on July 17th, 2025. So it's like a newer article. And I've seen a lot of people like, oh, here's a timeline, and here's this. And this is really focusing on her legal battle. So I wanted to just share it because I thought, hey, this is interesting. So the next article is about... Trump wanting to remove citizenship from people that he doesn't like. And the reason why I bring this up is this is kind of related to the first story, which is the fact that when all this was going on with Epstein, he's like, man, that Rosie O'Donnell, what a nasty person. Now, from this article says that Rosie O'Donnell moved to Ireland, obviously because her last name. She moved there after the wildfires in LA. She lost her home, so she moved to Ireland. And she basically said, I'll move back home when it's safe to do so and people have equal rights, which don't hold your breath, Rosie. I'm sorry to tell you, but it might be a while. But the idea is she's an American citizen. She has dual citizen now because she's in Ireland. But Trump's like, let's just revoke her citizenship. Now, will he? I don't know. But he's already in court right now trying to change birthright citizenship and say that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. The Supreme Court did not rule on that, but they ruled on nationwide injunctions, removing smaller courts from being able to slow down or stop the lower courts from, slow down the higher courts from doing things on lower courts, which again I think is a big problem with like judicial overreach and stuff like that. I just think it's insane that like there may be a part of the Trump coalition that is like, this is a good idea. Because like you and I always talk about, when this stuff starts to encroach, like it doesn't end, you know? And what if it was the shoe was on the other foot? If, you know, the other party was like, well, you voted a different way, so we don't like that and we're just going to revoke your citizenship. It's like, what? You know, what are
I
you?
mean, the Trump presidency has been moving that direction, regardless of if it's birthright citizenship or naturalization through, green card or marriage, right? Like they've been moving that way since before he was elected.
Right.
Uh,
Well, even in the
or I
first,
should say,
in
before he got into office.
even in the first term, he did the
Like,
travel ban. The first term, and
right.
that,
The travel ban, in my eyes, while not aligning with American values as I see them, um, I at least understand what the kind of rough motivations were behind that. Despite the fact that I don't agree with them, I understand them. In this context, um, again, what's being said at face value isn't true, right?
right,
This is just like we don't want anchor babies,
right, right.
and I'm speaking in a yokel voice. I'm not saying that the people opposed to this are not necessarily intelligent, but I definitely don't agree with the heart and the intention behind it. Right? Like it is, it is a written amendment. The language is actually very plain, unlike a lot of stuff in our Constitution.
Yeah, I know. When you
And
read it, you're like, well, this is like one of the most clearest amendment. You know what I mean? Like that. There's three of those. You know, like there's not
and it's
many.
it's there on purpose, right? Like
Yeah.
it's to the benefit of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
But like the whole motive behind it, like they're lying to our faces about it. The whole real motive behind it is we don't want certain immigrants to have anchor babies.
Right. You know, and I
Uh,
want to point this out. During the first Trump administration, one of Stephen Miller's relatives, I believe it was his uncle, wrote a massive opinion in, I think it was Politico. Stephen Miller's family is immigrants, and they're some of them are Holocaust survivors. And his
mm-hmm.
uncle said, "How dare you?" It was, I think, right after the Muslim ban. He said, "How dare you?" Because a lot of people talk about, "Oh, this is Stephen Miller's pet project," right? And he's doing it now with ICE. And I want to kind of go back and read that again, but it was a really moving article about how dare you? Like your relatives would be spinning in their graves if they saw you.
And like I said, it doesn't it doesn't represent, in my opinion, the values of the United States of America, right? It's not who we are. It represents the anger and the rage and the frustration that has been co-opted and redirected, right?
Right.
Uh, Very much like it was in Germany in the 1930s, right? Like the Germans were suffering, they were angry, they were upset, their economy was awful,
Yeah.
people were struggling, and this very charismatic guy came along. I think we know his name,
I think, yeah.
and he did a very good job of co-opting that anger and that rage and pointing it in a direction to set up a common enemy,
Mm.
and it worked. And you could accuse modern day magists, far right people of being Nazis, whether or not they are. But
I
at
think,
the very least, I think Trump learned well how to use that charismatic skill that Hitler had of like, if I can latch on to that anger and point it in another direction,
right.
like I can have a massive amount of
Yeah,
power.
the channeling of the rage, I think, is what he
Yeah,
he was able. And
yeah.
I think even on the left, people are like, okay, we shouldn't probably use the word Nazi. It's overused. Even, I mean, seriously, people are having a discussion on the left. It's like, but
Wait,
this
when
is
was the last time I said that? The first time I said that? Like 2 years ago? 3 years
yeah.
ago?
So that we're coming around slowly, but the idea is, well, it is pretty fashy. It's pretty fascist, to do the stuff, the ICE raids, and there's been footage coming out of some of these ICE raids where they're fully masked and they would just go to a park in like LA County somewhere and just
It happened a couple weeks ago,
walk
three
through the
weeks ago
park.
or so. I think.
Yeah, walk through the
Yeah.
park, and it's like that is complete intimidation. They don't announce in the neighborhood like, "Hey, we're looking for somebody," and so
No,
that
it's a scare tactic. It's
yeah,
intimidation. It's meant to do it on purpose, right? Like you and I talked privately about that activity. and I brought up, like, why are you wearing masks?
Yeah.
Like, the counter argument is, oh, well, they'll be doxxed. And I'm like, welcome to being a cop. Like, I don't see the police officers in LA
Yeah.
or Dallas or New York walking
Or
around with masks on
or
because they're worried about being doxxed,
yeah,
right? Like,
even federal
and there's
agents.
just as much chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, federal, like marshals, everyone else, no one does it.
Yeah.
ICE is doing it. You brought up for intimidation, but for me, I think it's shame. Like, I think they know that
Yeah.
they're pushing the boundaries. Now, there are a lot of people in ICE who are like, "Oh, finally, we can enforce our laws." Um,
Well,
but
oh, go ahead,
not in
sorry.
this way. And I think there's a lot of shame in it. I think they know that they shouldn't be doing it the way they're doing it.
I think I want to read a little bit more, but I heard this really good point brought up where, the big beautiful bill is going to like increase ICE's budget by X number of whatever, and it's going to be like the
Something like
the
that. Yeah.
biggest law enforcement agency, whatever. And the idea was somebody brought up the fact that when we after 9/11 when we had the Patriot Act and all the border enforcement, all that went up, they got a bunch of funding in. A lot of the agents, I guess some people went back and interviewed some of the agents at the time that were like, "Hey, what was it like? You got all this money?" And all of them were like, "It was terrible." Because to train agents in these agencies, you need time. You do need money, but you need time to train them properly. It's like a 6 week process, 8 weeks just to get them onboarded. And then the rest of the training begins. And they said because there's so much money going into ICE from this bill, they're going to try to ramp up faster. And I think they said if you look on ICE's website, they've kind of removed some of the requirements for getting into ICE of like, hey, you don't need this, you don't need that, just come work for us. And they said that's going to be terrible again to threshold of times X because people are going to be like, yes, because you've already got the people right now. I mean, there's reports coming out that people that have been with ICE for a while are like, I don't like this. They're telling me I got a quota. I used to do it because I used to want to go after the big fish. And now you're telling me, well, just bring them in. And they said morale is going down at ICE. And so they said, what's going to happen now if you start getting all these people coming in? They're going to want the stuff like we're talking about with masks and being cruel and all that stuff. And it's like, you're not going to get the best of the best, as Trump famously said. You're going to get people that
Some of
are,
them will. You're definitely going to draw a larger contingent of people that think that what ICE is doing is admirable.
no,
And to some degree, right? Like, ICE is a law enforcement agency for a reason. Immigration control is, like, there on purpose.
yeah. Yeah, but to quote the Matrix, not like this. Not like not like this. Yeah.
And I've heard it from right-leaning voices, and I agree with them, right? Like, Obama, Clinton, like, they did mass deportations, right? Like, they would skip due process when there was certain thresholds that were met. And I disagree with that then, too. It was wrong then, too. It's not like, oh, well, they did it, suddenly makes it right. Like, it's wrong now. It was wrong then,
Yeah.
right? It's, again, our Constitution enshrines this. We should go through this process. If we can't back that system up, then unfortunately it drags out, it takes longer, and it's slower. But we're literally scooping people up because they look like immigrants that are American citizens, veterans. There's been so many stories of people that voted for Trump that were scooped up, that
Or
were
like their spouses have been scooped up, or people that
Yep.
were in the middle of the process. Which one thing that drives me crazy is
yeah,
the thing you see on the right all the time is like we just want people to come in the right way, which I agree with. But you have people
right.
that are in the middle of the process. They're going to court. They're checking in with the
They're doing it
judge.
the right way.
Yeah, they're going to court. They have representation. Yep. The judge says, "I see no problem. We'll see you in another 9 months or whatever, 6 months." They're walking out of the courtroom and ICE is arresting them right there. And it's like, what have they done? They've done nothing. They've done everything you asked, and yet these people are just being scooped. It's like, what's happening, guys? Like what do we do? And those are the people that have masks on that you're like, you got to be kidding me, And it's just like, right. And you think people don't trust government now? So you're going to say a bunch of people pulling up in an unmarked car, put masks over their face, and then just grab your phone out of your hand and throw you in one like they did the Tufts University student. what was her name? Ozmek, or the Turkish student that was at Tufts University, where they have that film where they just walk up to her and they grab her phone and she's like yelling, like, "What's going on?" You know, it's like we're okay with that. You know, we're fine. No, whatever. All right. So the anything else? Because I have my secret segment. I wanted to.
Well, so on the birthright citizenship thing, like I think that's an enshrined part of who we are as a country. If you don't like it, then we need to change that the right way. Um, we don't do it through an executive order, right? Like, just remember, turnabout's fair play. All of this power that we're giving to Trump, all of this imperial authority that we're giving him, the other side's going to get it at some point in time.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, would you be okay if the other side did what your side is doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, we always talk about this, and I've seen people on the right, like Glenn Beck on his show brought this up years ago. They had their little talk show they did, like it was like The Blaze, but it was The View anyway. And they said that, like, I don't like, even in Trump's first term, they were like, I don't like these executive orders because of what happens when Biden gets in and just says we're going to do all these executive orders. And I think I would have to compare both administrations, but I think he's doing more this time than he did last time. Maybe it seems like
it. By a long shot.
Yeah, it seems like it. Seems like last time he was like a raptor checking the fence of like how many of these can I get through the courts or whatever. This time he's like, do it, just release the executive orders, like, like
they were all pre-written by other people and aides, and he's just going through and signing them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so. Before we do the secret news
segment,
what do you think it is about? First off, what do you? Because you think you said you thought you knew what it was. So what do you think it is?
I don't remember when we were talking last night.
It doesn't. It's okay. So hopefully this will. Probably something bad will happen. So let's just go through all this, right?
See if you can surprise me, Joe.
So where do I want to start with this? So we'll start here. Mike Huckabee. It's about Mike Huckabee. Have you heard about what's been happening with Mike Huckabee?
I haven't heard any news on Mike Huckabee for a couple of weeks, but I have heard him come out.
Whoa, my friend! A couple of weeks, and this is a secret segment. You have no idea what this is about. What do you know about what?
I've heard him make some comments recently about what's going on with Israel and Iran, and be very much like. Essentially pushing the idea of like we can accelerate Armageddon and the
which by the way, this might be
Return of Christ.
This might be a separate podcast, but I remember a long time ago I said, isn't there this thing in Revelations about Israel's the point of like we're starting the Armageddon and that's why we need Jewish people there, and you're like, I don't know, like Revelations isn't really my bag. We don't like go over Revelations a lot in church. Have you heard any more about this or asked anybody like at your church, like, hey, what's this whole Revelation thing about like the Christians and the Jews and like, or is it just again?
I haven't read into it, but
well,
I've read Revelation, but like I'm no expert. I haven't read into it.
It does seem kind of
lots of different interpretations.
Yeah, it seems very depressing, actually. It seems like if you're studying Revelations, you're at a point in your biblical study life maybe that you've done everything else, and you're like, well, I guess I have to go to the end and study Revelations because I don't know, this is a bummer, Like I want to.
No, I'd say there's other books of the Bible that are more bummers, right? Like Revelation actually has a lot of hope, right? Like we know the world's
he's coming back.
We know the world's broken,
yeah,
but like. It will culminate in this crescendo of terrible,
right? That
will be followed by, like, peace and healing and restoration.
So the new Mike Huckabee news is Israel bombed a Catholic church. One of their bombs hit a Catholic church.
Ah, yes.
So Mike Huckabee is the Israeli ambassador. He visited it's a Christian Palestinian town called Taiba. I hope I'm saying that right. He went there last Saturday, and there was attacks in the church. And he made this really great statement. He said he toured everything, and he said desecrating a church. He said, "quote desecrating a church, mosque, or synagogue is a crime against humanity and God." And he also that's just how it started. They don't have the whole quote. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but the full quote, I thought this had the full quote when I originally read it. Anyway, what he was saying is, I don't find it acceptable from, anybody that worships at a mosque to attack a synagogue or a church. I don't find it good. He basically like reversed all the metaphors. Like if you are a Christian, it is not good to attack a mosque or a synagogue. If you're Jewish, it's not good to attack a church or a mosque. And if you're a Muslim, it's not good to attack a synagogue or a church. And he goes, what is going on? Because I don't know if it's in this article, but the priest at that church would actually check in with Pope Francis, the former pope, because it's on the outskirts of Gaza. And he's like, here's what's going on. We have people here. And he would FaceTime with them. There's video of him FaceTiming with Francis. Like, it ain't great, right? And so this church got bombed. People were injured. I believe some people died, but I don't want to say that because I actually couldn't. There's so many articles I couldn't find the one that had like the deets. But the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, was asked this in a briefing. Of course, she said this is not good. Trump called Netanyahu. He's not happy. The IDF is doing an investigation. You always hear that. They're doing an investigation. I think they came out and apologized. Say, oh, we're so sorry. I'm like, oh, is that the extent of the whoopsie, basically? So the second thing is there was a killing in the West Bank. Now, there's settler violence there with the Israeli settlers. They've been burning Palestinian farms. There's new video coming out. They just did an attack and they killed this sheep herder's livestock. They took a video. The guy woke up in the morning and his herd was whatever. There's a 20-year-old Palestinian American. He's an American citizen. He's got dual citizenship because apparently he was born in the States, but he has relatives in Palestine, whatever. He was taken. He's 20 years old. He was a man. He was like beaten to death by Israeli settlers in a town of Sinjil on Friday. And so he's an American citizen. So Biden, every president has been like, if one American citizen gets hurt or dies or whatever, the full hammer of the U.S. government and the military will come down upon you, right? It doesn't matter who you are. Well, Israel's also investigating that. And Mike Huckabee sent a letter and said, what is going on? Like, this is the video. I don't have sound set up, so I can't play it. But he's basically saying, I want to see if they have a statement here. Huckabee wrote on X last Tuesday, there must be accountability for this criminal and terrorist act. Saif was only 20 years old. I think that's how to say his name. Right here, I'll highlight it. The U.S. ambassador and former governor of Arkansas and evangelical Christian has previously voiced strong support for Israeli settlements, which are seen as illegal under international law, because there's been tons of documentaries about that. If you don't know about it, please watch. But basically, Israelis will just go there, plant a flag, and say, this is our home now. And then sometimes the military will show up, make sure they're safe. And there's been more violence against Palestinian farmers and things that live there. They'll burn cars. They'll kill people, just like a story like this. So it's really bad. So there's two times where I'm like, man, Mike Huckabee coming out. I don't agree with, I'd say 90% of what his, but I'm like, way to go. So this third thing just came out. This came out yesterday, what I'm about to show you. Have you heard about any of these two things before I move on to the big part of the news?
I'd heard about the Catholic Church bombing or attack.
Did you hear how many, 10 or
response.
People got injured? Did someone die? I don't know. I know some people were injured. I know that for sure. So, yeah. But did you hear about this Palestinian American being beaten? So Huckabee again.
But I 100% believe it.
Yeah, the Huckabee coming out and go, what the heck, man? So the biggest news that came out yesterday, good for it. Like, I'm, again, 90, I don't agree with, but if you're going to do this, now here's the thing where I was like, wow, this has hit a pitch. So this broke yesterday, but I want to see if it... Okay, so this whole story set up. Huckabee sent a letter to the Interior Minister, Moshe Arbel, the Israeli Interior Minister, because it seems Israel is throttling immigration and visas to Christians. They are no longer just letting Christians in the country. They're actually, instead of like, oh yeah, you're Christian, you're coming with this, they named some organizations, I believe in this article, there's 3 main organizations, you're coming through, yeah, it's a tourist visa, they rubber stamp them, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, Christian, blah, blah, blah. They have started throttling the amount of Christians that have come in, and Mike Huckabee had to write a letter to them, like, what is going on? And I'll read the letter because I think this is pretty amazing. It is with great distress that I write to you my profound disappointment that the meeting held in your office has not resulted in what I hope to be a simple resolution of the issue of routine granting of visas for Christian organizations and workers, as have been practiced for decades. It would be very unfortunate that our embassy would have to publicly announce through the United States that the state of Israel is no longer welcoming Christian organizations and their representatives and is instead engaging in harassment and negative treatment towards organizations with long-standing relationships and positive involvement towards Zionism and friendship to the Jewish people and the state of Israel. I think there is more to the letter. If the government of Israel continues to cause the expense and bureaucratic harassment for the granting of routine visas that for decades have been routine, I will have no other choice than to instruct our consular section to review options for reciprocal treatment of Israeli citizens seeking visas to the United States. It's understandable that the Minister of Interior has concerns of concealed anti-Semitism or of proselytizing and needs to properly vet certain groups. That being said, it is lamentable that well-established Christian groups that prove to be no threat and are taking a strong stance of support for Israeli and Jewish people are encountering these obstacles. This is an employee of him. This isn't the whole letter. There are a number of Christian groups that simply want to extend friendship and support to Israel and also better understand the Jewish roots of their faith. Basically, Huckabee's letter was like, we'll start telling these organizations because we give you millions of dollars every year from these Christian organizations that donate to the cause of Israel, believe in the state of Israel. There's tourism over there. We are going to start instructing them to maybe hold back some money. And it would be unfortunate if those donations that you got would dry up. So to me, this was just like, man, if Mike Huckabee is coming out and going, what are you doing? Like, that's pretty bad, you know? And I think it's nuts that for years this has happened. You know, I'm not saying everybody that goes to Israel is like on the up and up, but if you have a relationship with these groups and it's like, hey, it's another group of 20 people that want to come through on these dates, it's another group of 100 people, you know, all of a sudden it's like, nah, I don't know if we should let you guys through. It's like, wow, okay. Well, that seems a little suspect. I don't know. I know I'm just dropping this on you and it's a big deal. I probably should have made this a secret segment. But hearing all of this information, I mean, what does that make you think? I mean, it's pretty crazy.
I'm pretty surprised. I'm curious to hear what their justification is going to be, right? Like these pro-Israel, as he said, Zionist Christian organizations that have been supporting Israel for a super long time, that have been their friend for a super long time, having their visas, for lack of a better term, throttled, making it more difficult or challenging for them to get in. I mean, it could be innocent, but if it's innocent, why didn't it get addressed directly? Like, and when I say innocent, like, I could easily see their actual justification being like, hey, it's really dangerous here, and we don't want American blood on our hands as you're out traveling around and visiting these sites. So like, no, we're not going to let you in until everything gets settled. But yeah, it doesn't sound like that's the situation. It doesn't sound like that's the justification.
Yeah, it says right here, this is from Arbel, the Interior Minister of Israel. He says, I greatly appreciate your consistent support for Israel and your steadfast commitment to our partnership. For this reason, I believe it is incumbent upon us to act in the spirit of coordination, mutual trust, and respect, even when misunderstandings are difficult. So that's one of those like word salad statements of like, yeah, we're working on it, or we should work on it together. That's not exactly what you said, which if I read that, I'm like, makes sense. You know, hey, you know, we're afraid of another terrorist attack. There has been missiles that have hit Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, right? So like, we just don't want to put people, that could be a statement. We don't want to put people at risk. We're kind of throttling this. Right. We appreciate everybody's support. We'll let you know when it's safe to travel back in the country. You know, we do that at countries all the time. Like Russia, we pulled our diplomats because of what was going on in Ukraine. I don't know what country it was, but some ban got lifted somewhere where we sent our diplomats back. I don't know what. There's some I mean, there's a lot of conflicts going on, but there was some conflict where we were like, okay, it's good enough. You could go back, and we did. But yeah, this to me is like a sign of the times of like, ooh, come on.
Yeah, and what would be the reason for it? I mean, if it's some form of bigoted reason, right? Like,
There,
Christians.
I have seen some. I mean, it's anecdotal, but I've seen some video evidence where Christians are being harassed by Jewish people. And I mean, it's all anecdotal, and you'll get some missionaries that are like, "Why are these people following us?" And like, kicking
Right.
us and stuff. And I don't know if your church talks about that. And listen, I want to say right now, I'm not trying. I hope nobody says like that's anti-Semitic. There's bad people everywhere, and I'm not saying everybody in Israel, but I'm saying these videos that I see, these are like terrible people that are like harassing Christian, going to church and stuff like that. Of like, and they're usually young kids, which is like the worst because I'm like, oh man, I guess you could unlearn being a duke, a dick when you're young. Like, I hope
Well,
it's not like
you know,
adult.
the the signal that I get from kids that are that way is that they've learned the frustration, animosity towards a group from their
Parents, loved ones,
families.
yeah, whatever.
Usually,
Yeah,
their families at least have the social grace to not outwardly express it. But the kids don't have that filter; they haven't learned that level of control yet, so
yeah,
they act out. Um, so that would be very disappointing. The other side of me is like, okay, well, Christian organizations are very notorious for sending support,
yeah,
right? Like going out and providing aid. And so maybe it's not that Israel is answering to these more baser members of their population demanding that Christians not be let in. Maybe it is the government saying like we don't want these missionaries, these aid givers coming in because we don't want them to see what's going on. We
yeah.
don't
I mean,
want
they're
them
not
to see
letting
what's
they're not
happening.
letting the press in. Israel for 2 years has not let press in. The only thing that really gets out is there's a few embedded Palestinian journalists that are there, like with camera phones, and there's citizens that are releasing stuff too. Really, it's tragic. I mean, I don't know what news sites you look at, but the ones I look at, it's either a statement or a video, and someone saying, "I don't know if I'm going to make it out. I'm going to record all this, and I hope someone finds this, or I can get it out, before something bad happens." And you're like, "Oh my god." I'll say this: it is strange to me that it's a sign of times, like you just said. This could have been a statement of we don't want to put people's lives in risk. We'll let you know when it's safe to come back, and instead of no. That's it seemed.
As an expression of care and concern to our
Yeah,
American friends and supporters, right? To the Christian groups that have supported us and been behind us through all these difficult times, like we are taking the step, and I know you may not like it, but we're taking the step to cut the number of visas to reduce the chance that some of your travelers, your people, get hurt. We
yeah,
don't want to be responsible for that and carry that guilt of letting you in. Like it's a super easy excuse. Why wouldn't you use it?
yeah,
If it's true or not, it's the easy excuse.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like you. I want to see how this. I want to see if there's going to be another statement. If Mike Huckabee is going to keep everybody kind of
To account.
to account, and like I think his office. I think some people are going to reach out and go, have you heard anything about these issues? We'd like an update. We'd like to update our.
Oh no, they'll keep up on it.
Yeah, yeah. So this kind of blew me away when I read this. I was reading it right before I left work, and I was like, wow, what a sign of the times. There's all this talk now about Israel's place in the international community, if they're becoming a pariah, and this is just one more thing of like, what are you doing? Like this isn't the way to do. Like you're not doing this. Wow. Okay. Sure. All right. Go ahead. You know. Uh.
I was listening to a podcast this week that you and I had talked about, and one of the things that the guest on that podcast brought up was, they were talking about Israel, and he was talking about he was in Tel Aviv like a couple of weeks before the missile hit, and you could tell the missile hit like that apartment complex,
Oh yeah.
and you could tell that it emotionally impacted him because he brought it up multiple times and talked about like the terror of hypersonic missiles. And kind of his position was like he was talking from the belief that he feels that Iran was measured, that they could have done way more harm with the weapons that they have available to them. They could have killed way more people with the weapons that they had available to them, um, and that their attacks were basically just warning shots.
Oh,
Like,
Israel's
yeah,
attack on Iran.
no, Iran's attack on Israel.
Oh.
Like basically his assertion was that with the weapons that they have available to them and the capacity that they have to do damage and harm, that what they were trying to do is basically say like, hey, we can get through your Iron Dome,
Yeah, I heard
cut this
that.
shit out.
I heard that too. That like that what was it, the second round of attacks, because there's that one like about a year ago they did where everybody called each other and they're like, well, that's kind of weak. And then I think the last one when Israel, I think, hit them first during the ceasefire, we were going to meet with Iran, and then like on day 62 and then day 61 Israel, whatever the day, it was like a day before Iran was going to sit down, Israel hit them with missiles. I think their retaliation, they're like, where do these missiles come from? And I think Iran was like, yeah, knock it off. Now, I've also heard reports in the United States. I think there's some reporting out of like CNN they have some sources say like, we could have done more. We've only hurt one of the 3 sites in Iran. We could have done more, but it would have been a much longer campaign. It probably would have been escalated to a degree. And Trump was like, I want the 1-day option. So maybe there was a part in Trump where he's like, I don't need another conflict. So we're just going to do this controlled thing. I'm still not happy with it, but we're going to do the, Joe is not happy with it. We're going to do this, and then we're going to say, hey, we did it. And, Trump's whole thing of like, hey, I did it. That's kind of Trump. So his thing of like, we destroyed everything. You're like,
Did you?
yeah. Hey.
And now reports are more and more and more confirming that we probably did obliterate one of the 3 facilities.
I know it's the media, and I don't want to sound like we need to turn the media into like like a clapping seal. But there's, you listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. You and I both do. If it's like being recorded live and you listen to it later, a lot of times people will have chat up, and they'll be like, okay, chat, I'm going to do this. Chat, be cool. I'm just going to say this thing, or I'm going to spoil this thing. Chat, be cool. Don't spoil it for anybody. I do feel like we need a moment like that for the media when he's like, I destroyed everything. And I just think the press people should have looked at each other and go, chat, be cool. Chat, be cool. Yes, you did, sir. Like, let's not point out because you're just going to get mad. You're going to try to do good. Chat, be cool. Chat, be cool. Just let him think that he got everything and they're never ever going to make a nuclear missile again.
On those lines, I read an article yesterday that was talking about what's going on with Ukraine and Trump's pivot on Ukraine.
Yeah.
And like giving them weapons and calling out Putin.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was brought up was that European leaders have been coaching Zelensky how to appeal to Trump's ego.
They're like, hey, man, that thing in February, like he had a coach come in and they're like, that was terrible.
Yeah.
You had JD.
Supposedly.
Yeah, you had JD Vance yell at you? Come on, man. You have more self-respect than that? And so they coached him on. That's interesting. I mean, I guess
supposedly they coached him on how to stroke his ego and build him up. And there's been
it worked.
About, like,
it worked. He's sending him. It worked. He's sending him weapons. Well, he's sending Europe
maybe
weapons.
Maybe not.
He's sending Europe weapons so Europe can sell them to him and everybody can make money, right? Something like that.
I heard a number yesterday that floored me.
But what? How
One
much?
of the articles in that same article I was reading, talking about like our pivot to being more supportive of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So right, like we're sending more Patriot missile systems.
If people are just listening to audio, Avin just did air quotes. It's like people we are, quote unquote, yeah.
Yeah. So like supposedly, right, like there's the plausible deniability. We're going to send them to Europe. Europe will forward them on, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea.
And
but
then I think Europe's giving them some munitions as well, so it's like a big pot, right, that's going over there or whatever.
The discussion is 17 new or additional Patriot missile systems.
Yeah, we don't
Which
have
you're
that.
like, okay, that's only like 17. Like, that's not a whole lot.
We don't have that many.
Here's the reality. Well, I mean, allies, the United States, others, plus we'll build more and spend more money, right? It feeds the whole military
industrial
industry.
complex, yeah.
I wasn't going to use that. I don't want to imply it's some giant evil entity. But it does definitely like continue to fuel military industry and businesses. I don't know how many we actually have, but the report was that we were planning to send an additional 17. Ukraine currently has 6.
Holy crap.
So if we send 17, I think that sends an extremely clear message to Putin. And also in that same article, they brought up like a lot of people are coming on Trump, like, hey, you're giving him 50 days. He's using this time to expand his footprint. He's getting way more aggressive. Like, this is too much. And supposedly Trump has already started hinting that it may be less than 50 days.
Well, what I think is crazy is, oh, sorry, were you? I was going to bring a point. Are you? Was that?
I also think too that it brought up that Europe is already now looking at expanding their sanctions against Russia now too, because
Oh
I think
yeah,
they feel like maybe they've got a little bit more backing from the United States. So if they
yeah,
do it, they'll.
yeah. I think what's really funny is there was that interview with Trump, or maybe it was at a press gaggle where he's like, Putin hasn't been very nice. I'm starting to think that he isn't a nice person because apparently he had a phone call. It went well. He went home and he told Melania, "Hey, this is a reporting." He told Melania, "Hey, I had a good phone call," and she said, "Yeah, well, Putin just bombed another city in near
Mhm.
Kiev or in Ukraine." And what I just gotta say, I'm not gonna dunk on Trump and say he doesn't know anything, but all these world leaders have been like, "Hey, you gotta treat Putin with a 10-foot pole, and you gotta be careful." And Trump didn't read or have anybody go, "Hey." He's gonna say one thing and do like he it was just something where he's like he's lying. Like he got off the phone like that night with Melania. He's
That
like,
same article with Zelensky. Zelensky had said like Trump had to learn for himself who Putin is.
gosh, just I don't even know.
You know what? Honestly, if you look at
It's
kind of
crazy.
Trump's rhetoric and his behavior with European leaders, and you look how he's talked about other people around the world, right? Like, uh, he's not a big fan of the European leaders.
No.
And so I would wager he doesn't have very much trust for them. So I could easily see him being like, you know what? I got to see for myself. Like, I just think you guys are blowing smoke. I'm going to go find, and now he's finding out. So maybe this will also build a little bit of trust with those same people that are like, hey, we've been dealing with Putin for years. You may not like us in a lot of ways, but on this, we
Yeah,
agree.
we all know. Yeah, we all kind of have the same. We all have a Putin file on our desk that says "Do not trust him" or whatever. Like, do you want to borrow our file? Like, yeah. Well, we're running out of time, Evan. Is there anything you want to pitch? Anything you want to say before we close it out? I got you with the
Um,
surprise segment. I got you something you didn't know. I got you.
yeah, actually, it was quite surprised on the Huckabee thing. So way to go, Huckabee.
Yeah. Again, I disagree with him on 90
I
plus
don't
percent of his.
know him to be like a dishonorable, dishonest person. I don't know him to have like ill intentions or anything. I don't agree with some of um, his viewpoints on Christianity and world politics.
He
But
kind of, yeah. He's a,
I've always found him to be a stand up person in perspective of like I've never seen him to be manipulative or dishonest.
yeah.
He's always seemed like you know where he stands.
Yeah, he's what
And
you would call, I mean, no pun intended, but like a true believer. Like what he's saying, he believes what he's saying, right? He's Christian. Again, I disagree with a lot of stuff he says, but when he says stuff, you're like, okay, like whatever I feel about his beliefs, he definitely believes what he's saying. This isn't a
you need to
grift,
trust that what he's saying is what he actually means,
right?
right? Like unlike Trump, where you're always kind of asking yourself, like, is
Yeah,
this just him
yeah,
like trying to manipulate the
yep,
other side
yep,
and kind of control the
yep,
narrative?
yep.
Is like where's the actual truth in this 4D chess move?
Right, right, exactly,
More air quotes.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, so that's super interesting. The Epstein thing, like I Trump has now ordered that the Justice Department
The unsealed the grand
uh,
jury, whatever.
unseal the grand jury. So Pam Bondi's going over and asked the judges to let her unseal that stuff. We'll see what comes out of that.
And they're gonna be
But
like,
that's not
no,
all the files. That's not all the documents.
I
And look, we've now sown distrust. So when those files come out, if there's anything that like doesn't line up with what people are expecting, there's going to be a whole subgroup of people that are going to say these have
I
been doctored.
I don't think those files are going to be released right now because she's in appeal, right? So if she's in appeal, like those could still be pertinent to her case. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying, if she's in the middle of something, I don't think they can just be like, yeah, here. They're not going to hand her to
Yeah,
Pam Bondi.
yeah.
Um,
And yeah, I mean, interesting times. Like we said at the beginning, man, it is a ripe field of news. I would not
yeah,
be surprised if we continued this cover multiple topic articles,
yeah,
viewpoints, like in
yeah.
our episodes for a while now. This could just be our new format, Joe.
Oh God, purgatory. I mean, it's not.
There's so much going on, so
Yeah,
many things that we could talk about, like
yeah,
every single day. I'm like, oh my god.
yeah. And you still want to launch? You want to do another thing that we're not going to announce yet. We're kind of talking about doing some other stuff. maybe not every week, but just more stuff. So, are you doing the your agent guide stuff? Any videos or? I mean, you're pretty busy right now. I can imagine now.
I think we talked about it in the last podcast. Actually, brought it up. Is I do have an intention of continuing to do that. My wife and I are in the midst of getting ready to sell our home and buy a new home and move. And of course, anyone who's ever gone through that process knows it's a very busy period. The hope would be once that's done, I will get more time back because I have a really long commute.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to get closer to my day job so that I can actually get back some of my life. When that happens, it is my intention to continue the Your Agent Guide videos and continue to publish that. Of course, I am still a licensed realtor broker in the state of Washington, so anyone that does have questions is either looking for an agent that will represent them well, not myself, but I can connect you with someone that I know and trust will represent you well, or if you trust me and you want me to, I'm also willing to help you out too, as long as you're not like Eastern Washington, where I can't drive.
Yeah, there's a mountain range in the way of, yeah. I have some more stuff coming on with Game of Grief. I don't know if I'm relaunching it, but I'm starting back up again. I have to kind of sit down and decide when I didn't want to do and map some stuff out. And you and I might be doing more stuff together soon. We're still talking about stuff behind the scenes. We're working on thumbnails. I know those aren't great right now. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, tell your friends, family, whoever, enemy, as Avin said. And if there's an episode you like, send it to them. You can send the link to them. And this does hit, Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. So all the places. So, yeah, thanks for joining us this month. And I guess, we'll talk to everybody next month.